This is how you're gonna ace the SAT reading and writing section. You have come to the right video because today I'm gonna be breaking down 15 proven techniques to get a top score on the SAT. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan Nellis. I am a college admissions coach and the founder of NextGen Admit. I'm also a Stanford alumni, and I help high achieving students like you craft standout applications that get accepted to your dream schools. Everything I'm about to share with you today is provided by an SAT and ACT expert, Stephen Menking. This guy seriously knows what he's talking about, and he's helped students raise their SAT score up to 500 points. So if you want to learn all the nitty-gritty techniques to achieve your goal score, then I would highly recommend checking out his programs. I'll link it all in the description below, so make sure to check that out because Menking Tutoring offers some really comprehensive SAT and ACT courses. He breaks down the digital SAT step by step and provides really thorough explanations into how you can develop these techniques for yourself and get real results. So thanks to him and everything he teaches, we're gonna get into 15 techniques that you can start implementing today. First off, it's good to understand the types of questions that you're going to encounter on the SAT reading and writing section. The types of questions are vocabulary and context, critical reading, data interpretation, grammar, and rhetorical synthesis. The first technique is always read the question first. I know it can feel natural to want to read the passage first, but that's actually wasting your time. A large portion of the passage is actually unnecessary to answer a specific question. So you want to start by reading the question so you understand what your task is. Then when you read the passage, you know what to look for. Technique number 2, expect literal support for every answer. On the SAT, you do not want to rely on what sounds right. The best answer to a reading question is the one that is most directly supported by evidence in the passage. So you should be able to point to the passage and identify why you are selecting that answer. Oftentimes, a couple of answer choices can already be removed because they don't match the passage. So then you might be having to choose between a remaining 2 answers. And that takes me to technique number 3. Always ask yourself, what would I expect to see? Every time you're looking for evidence in a passage, I want you to ask yourself this. What would I expect to see in the passage if this answer choice were the best? For example, if a certain answer choice mentions multiple experiments, then you need to make sure that in the passage you see more than one experiment. If there aren't multiple experiments mentioned in that passage, then the answer choice that mentions multiple experiments is not the correct answer. The biggest thing to understand is that the reading and writing section is intended to be taken literally. So make it prove the answer to you. Technique number 4, learn the grammar rules that most students are gonna miss. I know that formal grammar instruction isn't super common in schools anymore, and the College Board actually knows that, so it's important that you brush up and study these. You really wanna know your independent versus dependent clauses, subject-verb agreement, modifier placement, and proper use of colons, semicolons, and dashes. Do not skip this when you're studying. Also, side note, me being a college essay coach, I can attest to this because I am always reviewing student essays and they don't understand independent versus dependent clauses, and there's always modifier errors in their essays, and I'm like, bro, you gotta learn how to write, especially if you wanna create a really good application to your dream school. Technique number 5, watch out for those tricky transition questions. Transition questions are often testing your logic, not grammar. So I want you to read the sentence before and after the transition and ask yourself, is this contrast, continuation, or cause and effect? You want to pick a transition that fits a logical relationship between the sentences before and after. Do not just choose what you think sounds nice. Technique number 6, focus on function, not just content. Most students will focus on what the sentence says, but in the SAT reading and writing section, what you really gotta also do is focus on what the sentence does. Ask yourself, what is the function of this sentence within the paragraph? What is it doing? How is it contributing? Does it provide evidence, contrast, or clarification? How does it support the main idea? When you understand the function of a sentence, it will help you select answer choices that reflect the author's structure, not just the content of what they're saying. Another thing I want to throw in as a college essay coach is that understanding the function of a sentence will help you so much, not just on the SAT, but on your college essays, because constantly students are saying to me, well, I just have too many words in my essay and I can't cut it down to fit the word count. What do I do? And the number one thing I say is that you have to make sure that every single sentence serves a purpose in the essay. It needs to be driving the story forward or supporting the main theme. And if it's not, then it's just extra stuff and you don't really need it. So anyways, it's just cool to see how important this is also on the SAT. Technique number 7, practice elimination like a pro. You may have heard of this one. It's always really, really good to immediately eliminate all the answer choices that you know it definitely cannot be. So you want to eliminate answers that are very extreme, like they use the word always or never. Also, watch out for this trap when an answer is only half true. If you're like, oh, well, this part of the answer, that's true, yeah, but this part of the answer, not as much, then that is not the right answer. No correct answer choice is only going to be partially true. You can also eliminate answer choices that are just off topic, or they're overly broad. By using the process of elimination, you're going to be able to figure out what the correct answer is a lot faster. Technique number 8. Don't fall for answer choices that are too vague or too specific. The College Board will often write answer choices to sound almost correct. And if it feels off, it might be because it feels too vague to be clearly supported, or it's too specific to apply to the entire passage. So remember, your answer should directly align with the passage. Technique number 9. Map transition words onto their types. For example, the SAT will never force you to choose between the transition however versus on the other hand, because both of them are creating contrast. So what this means is if two of your answer choices, which are both transitions, are serving the same function, then you can just eliminate both of those. So in that example, if however and on the other hand were some of the answer choices among other ones, then you can immediately cross out both of those because they serve the same function. So what are all of the functions for transitions? There's general continuation, for example, the word also, contrast, like we talked about with however, logical, for example, therefore, an example, for example, and time, for example, next. Now, don't forget that any connectors that show up in the middle of a sentence need to be comma separated and should be read at the beginning of the sentence to get a better sense of what ideas they actually connect with. Technique number 10, eliminate dependent clauses. Some of the trickiest grammar questions are filled with punctuation and complex clause structures. And oftentimes many students aren't familiar with all of these grammar rules, so they just pick whatever sounds good in their head. But the SAT knows that you do this, and they're trying to take advantage of the fact that you have that tendency. Don't let them win. Here's what you're gonna do instead. Of course, you gotta learn the functions, and you gotta learn the rules of punctuation. Also, one really helpful tip is that each sentence must have at least one properly structured independent clause. That means that in evaluating an answer choice, you can eliminate all of the dependent clauses that it would create and any prepositional phrases as well, so that you can see what the simplest structure of the sentence is. Then, if what you have left over is not a complete sentence, then that answer choice is not correct. Technique number 11 is the backwards technique on grammar questions. For grammar questions specifically, it's good if you just work through this backwards by looking at the answer choices first, and then look for any patterns. Are they testing verb tense, punctuation, wordiness? Once you identify the concept, you can apply the correct rule. This will make the grammar questions easier because you're reinforcing your pattern recognition. Technique number 12, answer what they're asking. I know this sounds obvious, but many students will often answer the question they think they're being asked rather than one that actually is. Always carefully identify the precise wording of the question. What are they actually asking? So if they're asking about the author's tone, for example, don't get distracted by the facts. Stick to what's being asked. In this case, it's the tone. Technique number 13, know when to skip and come back. Getting stuck on one question can seriously derail your timing, especially if you're trying over and over and over again. You're really looking for the answer, but you're just not able to find it. You want to be strategic with your time. So if a question stumps you for more than, let's say, 45 seconds, you want to mark it and move on. You can always return at the end with a clearer mind, and you might be able to spot the answer more easily after you've answered the other questions. Just, of course, make sure to actually come back to it. Technique number 14, build muscle memory with timed drills. The key to mastering the SAT reading and writing techniques is repetition. So you want to practice with regular timed drills to enhance your speed and your accuracy. The SAT reading and writing section is 64 minutes long with 54 questions, so that gives you 1 minute and 11 seconds per question. So when you do these timed drills, try answering 10 questions in 12 to 13 minutes. And when you're finished, always review your mistakes and identify whether you made that mistake because of timing, because you misunderstood grammar rules, or because you misread the question. Lastly, technique number 15, drill your vocabulary for 10 minutes a day. Consistency beats cramming. Just 10 minutes a day of vocabulary practice can really help you build long-term retention. I know this is something I always did on my train ride to school every morning. I would have my study app and I would be practicing my SAT vocab. When you get that vocabulary down, it's gonna help you so much with reading comprehension and with speed on the actual test, because you're gonna understand what the heck they're actually talking about. And that wraps up the 15 SAT reading and writing techniques. I really love how smart these techniques are because it is designed to optimize your time and help you get to the right answer as fast as possible. So I want to thank Stephen Menking for providing these techniques. And again, he goes so much more in depth and really teaches you and shows you with real examples in his SAT and ACT programs. So if you are interested in any of those, you've got to check out the link in the description. He gives customized practice test reports with feedback that you can directly implement to raise your score. And what I really like is that in addition to focusing on the technical strategy, he also approaches the whole process with the competitive SAT mindset that you need to succeed. Mindset is so important because your thoughts control your reality. So applying this to the SAT is so relevant. And it's gonna help you achieve your goal score so much faster than if you were just taking a million practice tests on your own. So check out his resources below. I also got some fun and free stuff in the description for you guys. And I hope these 15 techniques were helpful. Let me know what you learned, if it changed the way you thought about how you go and approach the test. And I hope to see you again for another really helpful SAT or college admissions video. Have a wonderful rest of your day. You're gonna kill it, okay? You got this. Don't second guess yourself. All right, love you.